We don't want another Trump wannabe. I always like to say Trump in khakis. We don't need a lapdog for Donald Trump as our governor. We need a real governor here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's why I need your help. Let's give a great shout out to our great chair of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison, for the great. I'll tell you a quick story. When I first called Jamie after he got elected, I said, you know, you go in that Democratic National Headquarters, that's the building I built, I got my name on the wall and all that, and I said, you know, when I was chairman, I gave the single biggest gift in the history of the DNC to state party race, and that's in '05 when I gave Tim Kaine, running for governor, $5 million. And I said to Jamie, man, you got to beat my record, and he has done that, folks, so give him a great round of applause. $20, so he beat my record. Thank you. I'll make sure I pass that on. So, folks, thank you for being here. We are 9 days away. I've been on this campaign for 328 days. I've gone 7 days a week. This isn't about me, it's about you. And I ask all of you to think back 8 years ago when I was running last time. Think for a second. We had the most anti-women, anti-gay, anti-immigrant, anti-environment, pro-gun legislation in the United States of America. We swept the ticket. First thing I did was replace the Board of Health, who were going to shut our 16 women's clinics down. And as your governor, I kept every single women's clinic open here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So you wonder, why do you knock on the doors? If I had not won in 13, there would not be one women's clinic open here. Dangerous for women, not inviting for women CEOs to come to our state. I'm very proud, after the historic Supreme Court ruling, that I'm the first governor in American history to perform a gay marriage. My point was, we got to be open and welcoming to everybody to recruit the business. I inherited a $2.5 billion debt from the Republicans. We got to work. We rebuilt. I recruited 1,100 companies. I was the most traveled governor in U.S. history, 5 continents, dozens of countries, 35 trade missions. I wrote the bid. Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all these gigantic companies came to our state. I ended up leaving a $500 million surplus, created 200,000 new jobs. Personal income went up 14%. That's what you get with a Democrat. And I remind every one of you that we reduced unemployment in every single city and county. All 133 went down when I was governor of this great Commonwealth. That's why elections matter. But I was also a social warrior. We had a racist Jim Crow law in effect here since 1902. If you had committed a felony, you never voted for the rest of your life. You're an 18-year-old kid, you stole some clothing or a phone or whatever. You never get to vote again. It was a Jim Crow. It was racist. I thought it was wrong. I thought it was disgraceful. I thought it was an embarrassment for our state. I thought people deserved second chances in life. It's about lifting people up. So as you know what I did in my quiet, low-key manner, I went on the steps of our Capitol where Senator Glass had put it in our Constitution. And the quote that day was, when he did it, "I'm doing this to eliminate the darky from being a political factor." That's what was said that day in 1902. And I stood on those same steps, and with a swipe of my pen, with an executive order, I gave 206,000 people back the right to vote here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It was the largest enfranchisement of voting rights in over 100 years. But guess what, folks? Today, 277,000 people can vote that could not vote 8 years ago. I leaned in on pardons. I remember I looked at all the folks we'd imprisoned. I had a young man, Lenny Singleton, 18-year-old kid, went, tried cocaine, got addicted down in Hampton Roads the first night. Over the next 5 nights, he went out and stole 50, 60 bucks, would go to a 7-Eleven or a Sheetz. Nobody injured, no weapon. He stole $511. His sentence in Virginia for $511 was 2 life terms plus 110 years. Lenny served decades in prison until I got elected governor, and I pardoned Lenny Singleton. He had paid his debt back to society. Travion Blunt, 15-year-old kid. Yeah, he screwed up. He tried to rob a drug dealer. He had a gun. He didn't use it, but he had one. 15. 6 life terms plus 118 years. I pardoned Travion. I got him out. And today, I'm great friends of both of them. In fact, I talked to them last week. My point of why I say this, folks, it matters that you vote. It matters about elections. We got to lean in. I am very proud as governor. I did the largest solar field in the entire mid-Atlantic in the United States, put it down in Accomack County, the first time Virginia had gotten into renewable energy. I'm very proud that I signed the first offshore wind project in America, and we are now building the largest wind farm in the United States of America. When Trump moved us out of RGGI, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, I used executive authority. I put us back in. I said, the heck with you. I joined other Democratic governors and said, no, Mr. President, you're wrong. We're going to comply with the agreement of the Paris Climate Agreement. We have got to get serious about climate change. We got to protect women's rights. We got to lift everybody up. We got to keep this economy cranking. So we have 9 days to go. And I'll say this finally. There could not be a more stark difference. I am running against someone who has been endorsed by Donald Trump, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, 6 times endorsed by Donald Trump. Glenn Youngkin says that so much of the reason why he's running is because of Donald Trump. Really? Folks, I'm running for you, not Donald Trump. I promise you that. But just be clear. He got caught on tape saying he will go on the offense. Go on the offense to ban abortion and defund Planned Parenthood. That's what he said. Now, after Texas, everybody ought to pay attention. Every woman in this audience ought to pay attention to what I'm about to say. For 50 years, we talked about the issue, but we knew that the Supreme Court would protect Roe v. Wade. Now, with the Trump 6-3 Supreme Court, abortions are over in this country. This is no longer a talking point. The Texas law is law. A woman doesn't even know she's pregnant in Texas today in 6 weeks. Women today are coming to Virginia because they cannot get an abortion in Texas. He's going to bring that here. Women's lives are going to be put at risk. Doctors will be put in jail. This is not a talking point anymore, folks. This is real. This has happened. Women's lives in danger. It will be crippling to our economy. There's no business that wants to come a state. Listen to Glenn Youngkin and his nonsense. They don't. He came out 2 days ago and said he's against gay marriage. Really? I'm proud that I'm the governor, first one in America to perform a gay marriage. Let me tell you that. But, you know, that's who they are. When I did the restoration of rights, they sued me, took me to Supreme Court. They sued me for contempt of court, tried to put me in jail. That's okay. It's not about me. This is about you. This is about the women here in Virginia. This is no longer a hypothetical. He wants to ban abortions. He says the single biggest issue in Virginia today is election integrity. I mean, this is almost hard to comprehend. He's been hiding. He wouldn't debate me. He will not answer press questions. That is why I need you. I need you for the next days. You don't need to sleep. Way overrated. And, you know, I had President Obama with me yesterday in Richmond, Virginia. The president was back. And he made a good point. Oh, people say they're tired. He said, what is that all about? Did John Lewis, who fought year in and year out to get civil and voting rights, did John Lewis ever say once, oh, I'm tired? No, he did not. And the president talked about a 106-year-old woman who was born into slavery, who finally got the right to vote. She never missed one single vote, and her crowning moment was to vote for the first black president of the United States of America. So please get out and knock on the doors. And let me say this. Let's elect the first Afro-Latina lieutenant governor in Virginia history. And let me tell you this, folks. I got to have an attorney general because They kept suing me on restoration of rights, on my actions to keep our women's clinics open. The Republican legislature kept suing me. Thank God I had Mark Herring who had my back, or I would have gone to jail. So let's get Mark Herring back in there. And then finally, I need your help. I gotta have a Democratic House of Delegates, folks. I gotta have it. You all know what happened last time? I had the most vetoes of any governor of Virginia history, 120. Stopping their anti-gay, their anti-women, their anti-environment, their anti-union, blah, blah, blah. All of that. I never lost a veto, 120-0. I've had a Republican legislature. Please give me a Democratic legislature to work with. But voting is important. And I want to, first of all, let's give Dave Matthews a great round of applause for doing this. Dave Matthews does not have to do this on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. But Dave Matthews has always been a social crusader, social warrior on social justice issues. He had made us a better state, and he has made us a better country, Dave Matthews has. And also here today, and she was here, I love this woman. She was here last weekend. She and I did all the souls to the polls. Just think about this, folks. For the first time in Virginia history, you can now vote on Sundays here. We now, for the first time in a governor's race, can vote 45 days early. So all these states are taking voting rights away. You know it. You see it. Here's one state that's bringing voting rights in. Don't let them say after this election, oh, look, we gave them Sunday voting, we gave them early vote. They didn't take advantage of it. Therefore, let's take it away from them. Let's show them that Virginia is the cradle of democracy, and we will protect voting rights. That's who we are. And Glenn Youngkin at his rallies where they're pledging allegiance to a flag that was at the Capitol of January 6th, he called it weird. I call it disgraceful and disqualifying to be governor of Virginia. So let me now bring out, she would be the governor of Georgia today had the governor of Georgia not disenfranchised 1.4 million Georgia voters before the election. That's what happened to Stacey Abrams. They took the votes away. But did she coil up and go back? No. That next day she got to work. She's gone all over this country talking about voting rights, civil rights, why elections actually matter. There is not a better fighter for us in this country. And we would not have had Georgia go blue in the presidential election. We would not have had Ossoff and Warnock in the Senate were it not for Stacey Abrams. One of the greatest champions of voting rights in the history of our country is here in Virginia. Let's give a great Virginia welcome to our own Stacey Abrams.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Look, I got in trouble last week when I was here. They called it a slip of the tongue because I said that you all, when I was in Fairfax, I said, you should vote for Terry McAuliffe for governor of Georgia. It wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was wishful thinking. Because when I hear the litany of what Terry McAuliffe did the first time around, who wouldn't want him to be governor again? And to my dear friend Jamie Harrison, who's doing such an exceptional job of leading the DNC. It is my honor to be back here. Yes, I am from Georgia. That's where I live. That's where I try to do my work. But I know that Virginia and Georgia are yoked together. That what you all do here over the next 9 days will determine the next 4 years for this country. It will determine the next decade of rights and opportunity, or it will signal that we are going backwards. Maya Angelou, I don't like quoting people because I think you shouldn't appropriate other people's ideas, but she had something smart to say many times. But one of my favorite was, she said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Now, on the one hand, we have Governor Terry McAuliffe, a man who has spent his life fighting for Virginia, a man who decided not just to talk about justice, but to be about justice, a man who used his pen to re-enfranchise tens of thousands of people who thought that their debt to society would never be paid, a man who fought to defend gay rights and who fought to defend reproductive rights, a man who believes that the climate is changing. Although the air is crisp and clear today, he knows that climate change is real. He is someone who has fought not only with word but with deed over and over again to make Virginia stronger. And then you've got the other guy, someone who made a living taking jobs away from others, someone who doesn't believe in gay marriage. I don't know how you don't believe in something that exists and is real and is true. Someone who doesn't believe in a woman's right to control her own body and to control her own destiny. Someone who thinks that the insurrection was a fluke and not a warning. You've got someone who is too afraid to be seen and too afraid to be heard, but ready to take your rights away from you the minute he gets into office. He's told you who he is. Believe him. And I bring you greetings from a state where sometimes we didn't believe hard enough. And we've got a governor who thought, well, I'm not going to go into all that, but if you want to figure out what could happen to you in 9 days if you don't get out and vote, pick up a newspaper that talks about Georgia. If you want to know what happens in 9 days if we don't get out and vote, look at what's happening in Texas. If you want to see the future, you don't have to look forward. All you have to do is look back and look at the worst days that we have had in this nation. If you want to know what happens to Virginia, if we don't vote, if you don't turn out on November the 2nd, then remember what you felt like in November of 2016. Because the reality is, this isn't about Terry McAuliffe. It's not about Jamie Harrison. It's not about me. It's not about President Barack Obama, Dr. Jill Biden, President Joe Biden. It's not about any of us. This is about you. I fight for voting rights not because I have a right to be elected, and people get confused when I say this. I know I'm not entitled to an election, but I'm entitled to a country that sees me, that invests in me, that believes in me. And so, whether I have a title or not, I've got one title they can't take from me, and that is United States citizen. And as citizens, we have the obligation to cast our ballots and to put our lots together to create the country we want. Now, Terry pointed out that some folks are tired, and I know the feeling. I know it's exhausting. Waking up every day being surrounded by all the troubles of the world is exhausting. Having to call and knock doors, having to tweet over and over again. It's exhausting having to think about politics all the time. But the problem is, politics is a stalker. It doesn't go away just because you get tired. Politics is how we make decisions about who we want to be as a community. And when we make good decisions, when we make great decisions, we see change that changes the world. That's what's at stake here, Virginia. That's what you're voting on in November. But I need you to understand, you're not just voting for you. I am not a citizen of Virginia, but you all call yourselves a commonwealth, and that is one of the truest statements I've heard, because when your commonwealth pools together, when you pour into each other, you change the face of this country. What you do will signal what can happen in 22 and 24. What you do will determine the kind of country we intend to be. What you do in the next 9 days will set the course of this nation for the next decade, and we need you to get the job done. We need you to get the job done. Because For those of us who can't vote here, what we can do is keep coming here. We can keep encouraging you and keep telling you what's at stake. But I want to speak specifically to two groups of you. I want to talk to the young people who are here. I know y'all are here to see Dave, and I'm going to get out of the way in a second. I'm here to see Dave, too. But in the state of Georgia in 2018, when I stood for governor, I did something novel, something that was surprising to people. I actually believed that young people could change the election. So we hired young people, and we talked to young people, and we invested in young people, and we had the highest turnout of young people in that state in our history. We had an extraordinary turnout of young people. Because you see, all of the work that's being done, we might have to survive it for a minute, but you guys have to inherit it for a lifetime. So don't let us get this wrong. Don't let us screw it up. Show up and vote, and bring your friends with you. Bring your frenemies with you. Bring the folks you broke up with you. Bring the folks who broke up with you. Because it's going to take every vote, and it's going to take young people to show us the way. There's also a little bit of something to be said for the work of people of color when it comes to turning out the vote. I had the great yet dubious privilege of being the first black woman in American history to be nominated by a party to run for governor. Well, no, I appreciate the clapping, but in 2018, that shouldn't have been a thing. But the reality is, while I did not get the title of governor, I saw the work that people did, the work that people of color did. We increased black turnout in the state of Georgia. We increased Latino turnout in the state of Georgia. We increased AAPI turnout in the state of Georgia. And the thing about it was, you guys have done the same. You have been turning Virginia blue for a while now. And you've done it with people of color coming up and showing up and doing their part. You've done it because of young people. And the thing of it is, it can keep happening if you keep doing your part. Because when you did it before, you sent a signal down to Georgia. 12 years ago, when you all decided to start turning blue, we saw that sign like a bat signal that in the South it could get done. And Georgia believed in Virginia, and you kept proving it. And again, you have proven that Georgia and Virginia have a common fate and a common destiny. And Virginia, if you do it again, if you stay blue, if you stay true, we can do it again in Georgia, and we can do it across the South, and we can do it across this country. But we need you to do it with us. We need you to elect Terry McAuliffe, to send him back to the State House. We need you to elect Hala Ayala and Mark Herring and a state legislature that will stand up for you. We need you to do the work, because we've got to get this done. Virginia, we believe in you. So we need you to get out there and mobilize. Because in 9 days, we're going to change the face of this country again. Now, it is my honor to not only be here to stand for Terry McAuliffe, but to introduce you to the star of the hour. Now, I love me some Dave Matthews. But it wasn't until I was on my way here that I realized that Dave has been moonlighting as a political consultant. You see, if you listen to the lyrics of his music, yes, he talks about love and the future. He talks about pain and heartache. He talks about social justice, but he also has some pretty good lines. You know, if you vote for Terry McAuliffe, you will be so right. And I understand that, you know, somebody's got our back. But we know that if we don't get this done by November 2nd, grace is gone. And so I invite him to come up here and to crash into me. Welcome Dave Matthews and the Dave Matthews Band.